Jason Gregor is joining us to preview. He is the host of the Jason Gregor Show in Edmonton on Sports 1440 here on Shan RJ 105.3 The Fan. Good morning, Jason. Did we get the last name correct?
You did. No emphasis on the or, so that's perfect.
Okay, I thought that you knew RJ because your background photo is you power cleaning. And RJ,
like a deadlift, yeah.
Sorry, this deadlift. So I thought you guys were the friends, but you know him through someone else.
I know him through my friend Chris. I was like, he's from Edmonton.
Okay.
And I was like, you got anybody up there? He goes, yeah, hit my guy Jason. So thanks for coming on, man.
Hey, no problem, fellas.
What's the weight on here?
I think that picture's a few years ago. I think that was like 400 back then.
All right, are you up or down from that?
Oh, I don't lift heavyweights anymore.
Okay.
It's not
Get old, man. You get old.
You lift more reps, and they say it's better now. So, yeah.
Jason, how is this matchup different, just kind of overall with your summary compared to last year when these two teams faced off?
Well, every year it's obviously different, right? Like there's Mikko Rantanen. Let's start there. You got a superstar player on Dallas that wasn't there last year, so that's going to change it. Coming into the series, everybody says Dallas has more depth. Well, they got more paper depth, but on the ice they don't have more depth, at least on the playoffs, right? Like their depth guys have fallen off, right? Like so, I would say right now, Edmonton, funny enough, isn't relying on their superstars as much as they were last year, and right now it's Dallas relying on a superstar. And you can win when you have a superstar. That's the advantage, right? Like it's why Carolina never wins, because when push comes to shove, they don't have a game breaker. So I think that's the biggest difference. Dallas has that. Heiskanen coming back is obviously huge for Dallas. I watched Game 6, and he looked like the Miro Heiskanen that we've known in Game 6. He was flying up the ice, and so I'm curious if Dallas is going to go with 7 defensemen, or if they're like, okay, Miro's good, we can go with 6, and then because I think Dallas, if I've looked at their first 2 rounds, and you guys watch them closer than I do, but the Ben Sagan Duchesne line isn't working. Okay, like they've done literally jack squat at 5-on-5. So I don't know why you wouldn't put Ben back with Robertson and Wyatt Johnson, because that line was great in the regular season, and put Marchment back with Duchesne, because they work. So I'm curious if we see Pete DeBoer switch that. Edmonton's, the biggest difference for them is their defense. It's way more mobile. They got puck movers all over the place. Jake Wallman has come in and been great. And John Klingberg, who, Stars fans know, when Klingberg's on his game, he's a hell of a player. And you know what? In the regular season after Edmonton signed him, I'm like, geez, I'm not sure this guy could help. Didn't look very good. Then he got an infection, was out another 3 weeks. And since he's come back, all of a sudden, John Klingberg looks like a really good player again, and he's moving the puck. And he still doesn't have the straightaway speed that he had in Dallas, but his lateral movement is where he creates space on the ice, and he's been excellent. Him and Wallman as a quote third pair, they play more minutes than the third pair, but they've been the best third pair in the NHL playoffs by a mile.
Jason, McDavid hasn't scored a ton this playoffs. He's been in a lot of assists, so he's been in on the action. He just hasn't gotten the goals. Has he been trying to change his game up and be more of a facilitator, or it hasn't come to him yet?
He's never a big goal scorer. It's funny. I went back and looked through the first 2 rounds last year, and after going into the Western Conference Final last year, he had more points, but he had the same amount of goals. He just had more assists, right? McDavid will, as great of a player he is, there's still times where you're like, man, shoot the puck, right? Like he'll be right in the slot, and he'll dish it off. So McDavid's still dangerous. Obviously got Leon Draisaitl, both of them. Although, I'm kind of curious. Draisaitl's line, like they shut down Eichel's line. Like, it's a unique situation to have a superstar player and say, hey, we're going to have you shut down another team's best guy. And that's what happened in the Vegas series when they had back-to-back shutouts. So I'm curious to kind of see what DeBoer and Knobloch will do in line matching. Are you going to put Rupe Hintz against McDavid? Or is Knobloch going to try to get Draisaitl's line out against Hintz and Rantanen? That, to me, there's always the gamesmanship there. Like, I'm sure Heiskanen's going to get McDavid just because he skates so well. Him and Thomas Harley. Like, that's the best pair, I would argue, maybe in the NHL, and when they're healthy, and definitely the best pair in the series.
Jason Gregor joining us here to talk Oilers Stars ahead of the Western Conference Finals. Jason, speaking of Connor McDavid, I saw a quote from him the other day where he was talking about the special teams are going to need to really get going, that the power play is going to be a big thing here for Edmonton. Yep. And Dallas has been great on the penalty kill this entire postseason. Is that where you think this series ultimately comes down to, is just who gets the advantage in those power plays?
Well, it will definitely help. The question is, fellas, like, what are we going to see? Are we going to see more than 2 power plays a game? Like, it's mind-blowing how few power plays we see. At least, in the Edmonton series, I haven't gone game by game in the Dallas series, but, the games I watched later, we're not seeing a ton of power plays. So now, even if you only get 2 a game, if you can score a goal, that's obviously key. Edmonton's power play was only 9% against Vegas, and they still won because they're getting such great contributions from their depth. But historically, that's, I'm not sure that's going to last. So, you're going to need your power play. Like, they can't go 9%. The Oilers don't have a power play goal on the road in the playoffs yet, right? They didn't score one in LA, and they didn't score any in Vegas. So, that would be a key tomorrow night, is if the Oilers power play can get going on the road and just get going in general. I thought they were too static. I thought at times they were a little bit too stubborn, looking for the perfect play. Right, and that can be as great as their power play has been now for 5 years, because it's obviously historically been one of the best the league's ever seen. When they get into their little ruts, it's usually because they try to be too pretty and they're a little stubborn, always trying to force that one-timer to Draisaitl and just not shooting the puck. Like, they only had 18 power play shots in their first unit in the whole series against Vegas. So not enough. That's not even 1 shot per minute, because they had 21 minutes of power play time with the first unit on the ice. So they got to shoot the puck more. And, obviously power play can make a difference when you think about it, right? There's only 4 minutes in a game and you score 1 in 4 minutes. Well, your odds are pretty good of maybe winning. So they need it. And then their penalty kill, it's like the numbers look awful because they started so terrible against LA. Like, LA scored 5 of their first 6 power play chances. Since then, Edmonton's been better. I still, a lot of it comes down to Skinner, and when he's on, then their penalty kill's decent.
Jason Gregor from 1440 in Edmonton joining us to preview the Western Conference Finals. The over/under for tonight's game 1 in the East is 5.5 goals. Tomorrow night it's 6.5. And someone who I respect his opinion said, be prepared. You got to win 6-5 games in this Western Conference series. Do you agree with that? And if so, why so high scoring?
Well, I definitely don't agree with that. Look at last year. Goals become less as the playoffs go along. The teams are better. I think the players are closer to their goal. People are cheating less for offense. Dallas scored 3 goals once in the series last year in 6 games. Right. Edmonton, I think, scored more than three times, but if one of those was an empty netter for sure. So I definitely I love offense. Like, if you ask me, can I watch a 2-1 or a 6-5? Give me 6-5 all day long. You got lead changes, you got emotion. It's way better. But I'm not holding my breath for that. Like the Eastern Conference Final, God, you might have put it at 4.5. The way Carolina's playing, like, it's probably the most boring hockey. It's like they're the New Jersey Devils of 2025. Like, God, I don't know if you guys try to watch any of those games, but man, if you can't sleep, just turn on that series and it'll be lights out. So, there'll be a game or two where it's 4-3 in Dallas, but I think we'll see a lot of 3-2 games, more so than we'll see 5-4, unfortunately.
Jason, Skinner was not good in the first 2 games of the playoffs against the Kings. He was tremendous in the last 2 against Vegas. Obviously, in the middle, he was yanked in there. But what has been? How inconsistent has he been?
Yeah, the first 2 games, the numbers look awful because the team was awful. Like, they were giving Adrian Kempe, 3 Mississippis wide open in the slot, and of course he'd bury it. Now, I don't think Skinner actually let in a bad goal in those 2 games. He just didn't make a big save, right? And you need your goalie at some point to make a big save. Stu Skinner's, he's consistent in the sense that he's inconsistent. So last year, started well, had 2 brutal games against Vancouver, got pulled for 2 games, came back in, and then it was lights out, right? He outplayed Ottinger last year in that series, right? He only allowed more than 2 goals once. He had a 1.91 goals against average and .922 save percentage. And this year, those first 2 games, he didn't look confident. He came back in. They had a tough break, losing that game 3. The only game they lost to Vegas was when Vegas scored with 4 seconds left on an own goal by Draisaitl. But Skinner, I thought, in the last 2 games, usually when your goalie has a shutout, your team's not giving up a ton, and that's the case. They didn't give up a lot, and then they did. He made a breakaway save on Barbashev in the first period of Game 4, and his body, it just seemed like that was like, a boost for him. And then after that, he's just calm and net. He read the play very well. He was never scrambly. And since then, he's obviously looked really good. Go back-to-back shutouts. So he'll come in with a lot of confidence. And, Skinner seems to have to – it's almost like he has to get disciplined by his coach. He's like, you got to sit down. And then once it goes, okay, coach. And then he comes back and he's good. So, because, if you go back to last year in his final 15 games after getting benched, all right, he only allowed more than 2 goals 4 times. And then since then, coming back against Vegas, you're posting back-to-back shutouts. He'll come in with a lot of confidence. And they're going to need him because they don't have an option, right? Like, Calvin Pickett's not even dressing yet as the backup. He's not even practicing with the team. He's still hurt. And so I think it's Skinner or bust for Edmonton the whole series. Because I don't like if you got to go to Olivier Rodrigue, your AHL goaltender, you got some real problems.
What's your pick for the series?
Well, I picked Edmonton at the start of the playoffs. And I know people say, oh, you're Homer or whatever, but look at how many people picked LA. Look at how many people picked Vegas. Like, I think Edmonton's good, and what people overlooked was Edmonton's regular season was not really a reflection of their team, right? Klingberg didn't play very much. Kane didn't play 1 game. Trent Frederick played 7 minutes because of, that's true. Those 2 guys have come in, and they've really solidified the depth. Like, you got Evander Kane on, your quasi-third line right now, and he's playing great. He's big, he's physical, he's healthy. Like, last year, Kane was playing on, like, a half a leg, couldn't skate, right? Was really a non-factor after, I think, the first 8 games of the playoffs. He dressed until Game 2 of the Cup, and then he was out. So, the Oilers, how do I word this? Not that they were holding back, but in a sense, like, they weren't physical at all, guys. Like, they set NHL record for the fewest hits in the regular season. Like,
wow.
Their head coach did say, he kind of told McDavid, hey, dial it back a bit, right? So they were saying, and people are going to say, well, they weren't trying. It's not they weren't trying. They just weren't exerting themselves physically. And you look at the playoffs, like, Zach Hyman is a one-man wrecking crew right now. Like, he's not scoring as many goals as he did last year. He's got 70. He had 13 hits in the Game 5 against Vegas. He had 12 in the other game. Like, he is punishing guys. And not just little hits, guys. Like, there's, like, you can rub a guy out, but Hyman's, like, he's been rocking guys, and Kane and Frederick, they're way more physical. So they got speed. I think they're a faster team than Dallas. And to me, if Dallas wins, it's going to be Ottinger's going to have to be great like he was against Winnipeg, because I thought he was easily better than Hellebuck by a mile. And, the one that's like, I think it's going to be a long series. And I do think the Heiskanen health, him and Harley, that can be like, that to me is what would concern Edmonton. Is those 2, they're probably going to play 25 minutes a night, maybe more. And, they're 2 of the best defensemen in the league. So if they can kind of limit Edmonton's top line, and if Dallas's depth, which was great in the regular season, right? Like, they had the second most goals, 5-on-5 amongst any forward group with 157. But, like, here's the stat, if I'm a Stars fan, that if this doesn't change, they can't win. Robertson, Ben, Duchesne, and Sagan combined have 1 goal and 2 assists, 5-on-5 in the playoffs. Like, you can't win when like, those are guys, what? They're probably, forwards, well, 4 through 7. Those are kind of like your core forwards after your main guys. And they've done nothing. Now, they're capable of it. We saw their production. So I just think Edmonton's depth's playing better right now, and it's hard to just flip a switch in the playoffs. So that's why I'll stick with them.
Jason, this was absolutely fantastic, especially the end. We appreciate it. Enjoy the series. Hopefully we can have you on again.